Okay. Welcome back to Tales of the Wedding Rings Anime Review, episode number 22. Basically this episode reviewing the 22nd episode of the anime, which covers 58, 59, and the first 24 pages of chapter 60 of the manga. Which means that with this episode, there's exactly 24 and a half left to go. And sadly put, there's only 3 episodes left to go. And I keep saying this, they have 2 options. 3rd season or 2nd core. That's the only options they have to cover the rest of this manga. So, in this episode, we start off with the 5 ring princesses, along with Marin, who is Hime's sister, all in the bath of basically Grinhall's her mercenary group, and of course they're all butt naked. Of course, basically Marin does ask her sister basically about, "Ooh, have you two done naked?" It's like, well, they have, because basically they have witnesses, namely the other 4 brides, and of course, she has to cover up her groin, probably because basically she's no longer a virgin. It's quite obvious anyways, but anyone who's basically watching the show. So, basically, like, right after this, it is shown, like, well, then of course we have where Sato is offered to go into the bath, Hime wants to have a conversation, and later on, like, ooh, let's do this private, and then it's shown a flashback. These two did have sex once again, this time inside the fortress. Also, Grinhart's basically both her parents both come back. Not only her mom, but also her father, who basically abandoned them, and now he's back for some reason. And yeah. And then of course they have some training. First between, I think it was Grinhart and Amber, and then of course then you have Grinhart's parents basically fighting. And then afterwards they arrive at a destination, Sapphire's Kingdom, where they run into basically, well, her father, who's surrounded by a bunch of toys. And the reason because, well, Sapphire's sister is pregnant, which means Sapphire's become an aunt. Which also means Sato's become an uncle. Because, of course, well, a little bit of spoiler, she does give birth to this baby at the end of the series. Which means that basically that Sato becomes an uncle for the first time. And, of course, basically all the girls congratulate her for getting pregnant, obviously. Then Mars, and later on you see him, like, where he talks to his brother, which he's not seen since, like, a couple episodes ago. And they go on their own path. And I think his brother, from what I can tell, is going to be inheriting probably the throne of the Empire, while Mars himself probably be inheriting the kingdom of his wife. Presumably, yes. And they go on their own path, and then of course they're off to what appears to be like a mine that leads to dwarf territory. Yes, where they go through a tunnel, and of course, oh, she has this memory, and like then she runs, and we see these ruins, which these ruins look very pristine. Now, do the group basically go inside of it and the buildings these ruins? Not really, no. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention also that Grinhart and Nephrides proceeded to stay up all night watching Sato and Hime have sex. Yep, that's why these two are basically tired, because they stay up all night and watch these two have sex. Hime, of course, does not know the fact their 2 brides basically did this, but that's basically happened. And then they, of course, well, meanwhile back in the actual cavern, so they go inside this tower where basically, like, Nephrides tries to read the graves, apparently these markings, which are obviously graves. Amber opens the door, and then we have apparently this statue. Yes, this statue. And it's real later on, of course, Amber does ask the obvious question of who she is. Apparently, this talking statue is, in fact, the last dwarven princess. Even though that technically the Amber is a dwarven princess, but she was the last one. Mentioned about all this about like the dwarves' basic records have not disappeared. Apparently, with this, to kind of confirm the dwarves are all dead, except Amber has some of their DNA inside of them. Basically, that means she has to repopulate the species. Now, dwarves usually are people who are a little bit shorter, though some anime I've seen basically they're about the normal sized people. But the only anime I've seen basically where dwarves are not picked as shorter people with beards is actually at the time of occurrence in Slime. Of course, I did also see this in Lord of the Rings. So then, of course, basically the episode Amber's going to take up she's going to take up the dwarves' will. Presumably, she wants to have children with Sato. Presumably, and that's pretty much the episode in a nutshell. Really good, and we're getting really close to the finish line here. So, as for how much further that the anime will cover in terms of the anime, like how much further do you think the anime will cover for the manga? Well, I definitely think the next episode will definitely finish adapting the chapters printing in volume 11 of the manga. That's definite. Definitely for next week's episode. I'm guessing that, and this is my personal guess anyways, that the season will probably get to maybe 67. So we might get about 8 more chapters adapted over the course of the remaining 3 episodes. I'm guessing at that. It'll probably just adapt, like, I'm sure probably next week's episode, probably adapt, like, the rest chapter 60, probably go up to 61, 62, maybe 63 as well. It depends. I'm guessing that the season probably will end with the adaptation of chapter 67, which means if there is another season, they're probably going to have to probably do like a special or something, but that depends on what they want to do. I currently don't have any idea what the studio wants to do with the rest of the anime, so we'll have to see when it comes to it, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much it particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications. Next up we have is the Banished Court Magician aims to be the strongest. And then after that, it'll be Spy X Family, and that is it. Yes, believe it or not, that will be it. It'll be good to catch all the anime today. Right? See you in a bit.